Let's be honest, lately a lot of gamers have been facing a kind of gaming crisis. Scrolling endlessly through the Steam store, not knowing what to buy, or looking at the huge library of games and not feeling like playing any of them. And yet, in recent years, some of the most exciting and engaging projects have come not from big studios, but from indie and even solo developers. That's exactly the case with Manor Lords. What started as a passion project by a single ambitious developer has now grown into full-scale production with a dedicated team behind it. The game combines the best elements of City Skyline, Total War and Banished, so if you ever dreamed of ruling your own medieval town, carefully building and managing it, while also testing the strength of your army against rival lords on the battlefield, then this is the game for you. But let's take a closer look. Manor Lords offers 3 main modes of play. The first is a peaceful development mode where you can take your time in the mood of medieval life, focusing entirely on building and growing your settlement. You will guide your villagers through hardship and progress, slowly shaping a thriving and economically advanced community. This mode is about long-term planning and dealing with the everyday struggles of the Middle Ages. Then there are challenging modes where dangers appear early on. Bands of bandits may raid your village, trying to steal your hard-earned supplies of potatoes and leather boots, while rival lords might declare war to contest your lands. This means that from very beginning you will have to think about building an army, not just to defend your settlement, but also to expand your territory. This aspect of the game will feel familiar to anyone who has played Age of Empires or Cossacks. Interestingly, all game modes start the same way, with just 5 homeless families setting up a camp on a new plot of land. They come with nothing but the determination to work from dawn till dusk, along with enough food and wood to take their first steps. From there, you will be gathering resources, expanding your village, assigning land plots and establishing trade routes. And of course, you will have full freedom to expand your settlement however you like. That's because Manor Lords features a completely free-form building system. The journey from a small camp to a thriving medieval town begins with the basic tasks: woodcutters chopping and planting trees, hunters bringing in meat and hides for clothing, villagers collecting berries and fishing for food. Once you've secured enough resources, you can build homes, granaries, storage facilities, and other essentials of medieval life. Over time, you will generate surplus goods, which means it's time to open marketplace where your peasants can spend their hard-earned money. Roads will follow soon after, bringing trade and travelers from neighboring villages. Roads are drawn freely with your mouse, which makes city planning not just practical, but also creative and satisfying. From there, the cycle continues: more upgrades, more settles arriving, more resources and more opportunities. Before long, your humble camp has grown into bustling town. For veterans of the city builder genre, this may feel familiar, but for me, as someone who isn't normally a fan of city builders, Manor Lords turn out to be both engaging and surprisingly challenging. I had to slowly but surely learn how to manage my people, resources and logistics. Adaptation is key. Every piece of land has its strengths and weaknesses, which the game communicates clearly through tools like fertility overlays and resource markers. This helps you plan what crops to plant, where to hunt, and how best to use your territory. Seasons also play a huge role. In winter, crops and berries cannot be grown, so smart players will stockpile food and firewood in advance to survive the cold month. And of course, medieval life isn't just about survival, it's also about culture. What happens when you don't have enough barley to brew beer for your tavern? Naturally, you trade. When your warehouses are overflowing with wheat, why not exchange it for what you lack? Manor Lords features a deeply supply and demand trading system, which encourages you to diversify your production, mastering the market, anticipating price changes, and trading cleverly is the key to long-term growth and success. I can confidently say that trade is the driving force of Manor Lords. Without it, your settlement will stagnate. With it, you can thrive, expand, and eventually dominate. At some point, one village simply won't be enough to achieve your long-term ambitions. Eventually, the time will come to expand into new regions, and that is where Manor Lord's combat system comes into play. Up to this point, you may have only defended your settlement from bandits, but now things get serious. With the weapons and armor you've either crafted yourself or purchased through trade, you can rely your militia and stand against the forces of the local baron, the nameless antagonist who has been eager to seize your lands from the very beginning. Once again, trade and healthy flow of tax income prove invaluable. After all, why arm a militia made up of farmers, hunters, and lumberjacks with skies, pitchforks, and leather armor when you can hire professional mercenaries? Sure, improvised weapons might hold for a while, but what happens when the baron's soldiers show up in full plate armor, wielding great swords and warhammers? In those moments, skilled fighters become essential. You and the baron will constantly compete for control of contested provinces, and this rivalry inevitably leads to battles. If you would rather avoid open war, you can delay expansion and instead grow your influence through the church, tax revenue, or victories over bandits. But if war is declared, there is no turning back. You will have 90 days to gather your troops and march them to the battlefield. The combat system in Manor Lords is heavily reminiscent of Total War. A lot of attention is given to unit positioning and battlefield formations, which can be adjusted on the fly. It's crucial to carefully monitor the battlefield and give timely orders, whether it's to attack, retreat, or form a defensive phalanx. To be honest, after spending not professional but even casual hours in Rome 2 Total War, I found Manor Lords to be relatively straightforward and easy to grasp in this regard. Most battles can be won with very simple tactics: spearmen in front, archers in the back. You will usually only lose if your troops are poorly equipped or if you are vastly outnumbered. Despite the fact that the roster of units is fairly limited and there is no cavalry, I still found the battles engaging. They provide a refreshing change of pace after hours of settlement building. What I enjoy most about combat are the long-term consequences. Losing a small number of men is manageable, but suffering heavy losses or even a pyrrhic victory can have a serious impact on your town's economy. After all, you're not just losing soldiers, you're losing farmers, craftsmen, or lumberjacks. This can even force you to temporarily halt production and focus on essential resources like food and timber, or rely more heavily on trade to compensate for the missing workforce. Of course, you can always hire mercenaries, but that costs money. and money has an unpleasant tendency to run out. Overall, I really like Manor Lords' combat system, though that can be sometimes feel a bit confusing. There is a lack of clarity in some areas that might mislead new players. For example, it's not always obvious why certain goods aren't being produced or why they are being produced but not showing up in the marketplace. In most cases, it turned out to be a shortage of workers or storage space, but at the start that wasn't always intuitive to see. That said, I want to emphasize, this is still early access. I'm confident that Greg and his team will polish these rough edges in the future. Still, the early access nature of Manor Lords is definitely noticeable. For instance, features like policies and skill trees are simply unfinished, while the diplomacy system, which would ideally allow players to resolve conflicts without bloodshed, currently only offers a few options that don't really affect the gameplay in any meaningful way. Perhaps in the future we will be able to capture bandits and drive them into battle ahead of our army, or even engage in trade with the Baron's land. After all, everything has its price. That said, Manor Lords is already an impressive game, especially considering that most of it was initially developed by a single person. The level of detail, from buildings to postures, is stunning and can easily rival many established city building simulators. While the medieval atmosphere is perhaps more authentically portrayed in Kingdom Come Deliverance, Manor Lords still boasts excellent design, largely thanks to its beautiful lighting. The landscape isn't static either. After the snow melts and spring rains pass, the world blossoms and comes alive. You can even step into the shoes of your lord and walk the streets of the very town you've built. The developer also put a lot of effort into making sure the world feels alive. Characters don't move like stiff mannequins. They have a variety of animations, good voice lines, and generally give the impression that your settlement is truly thriving. At any given moment, you can watch your peasants building houses, working the field, transporting goods, trading, or simply going about their daily lives. And at the end of each season, I often found myself lingering just a bit longer, simply to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Visually, Manor Lords is simply stunning. The level of detail in the architecture, the way lights shift through the day, and the seasonal changes in the environment create a world that feels truly alive. Fields turn golden in summer, forests thicken in autumn, and after the snow melts in spring, the entire landscape blossoms with color. It's not just a static map, it feels like a living ecosystem. The animations also deserve praise. Watching your peasants cut down trees, carry goods, or simply chat with one another adds a layer of immersion that makes your town feel authentic. Every daily, from the smoke rising from chimneys to the mood forming after heavy rain, reinforces the sense of realism. The soundtrack complements the visuals perfectly. The music is calm and atmospheric, often fading into the background while you manage your settlement, but swelling during battles or tense moments. Combined with natural sound effects, birds, rain, the clank of blacksmith, the audio design makes the medieval world of Manor Lords even more believable. As for the technical side of things, apart from a few short freezes right after loading and the occasional frame rate dip, everything ran almost perfectly. Manor Lords doesn't have that many bugs, but they do exist. Sometimes my peasants would just stand around idling, completely ignoring their assigned tasks. The only fixes I found were either reloading the save or reassigning them to other jobs. Another issue I ran into was when the marketplace bugged out, trade simply stopped and the population started starving. The only workaround I found was to demolish the marketplace and rebuild it from scratch. Performance-wise, I didn't really notice any major issues. Like I said, there were occasional drops but nothing critical. For the most part, the FPS stayed well above 100 on max settings, which is really impressive considering how beautiful the game looks, especially given that it's built on Unreal Engine 5. Manor Lords is still in early access, but it already delivers a unique mix of city building simulation and large-scale medieval battles. It combines freedom in construction, a thoughtful economic system, realistic resource management, and the rare atmosphere of living medieval world. Yes, there are technical issues, occasional bugs, and unfinished mechanics, but these are temporary problems that developer can fix over time. What matters most is that the game already gives a strong sense of progress, scale, and a settlement that truly feels alive, where every peasant has a role. And if the developer continues to improve the project in this direction, Manor Lords has every chance of becoming a new classic in the city building strategy genre. My conclusion: it's game worth playing even now, whether you love the Middle Ages, strategy games, or simply want to feel like a true lord. This was Kozak, play good games, and I will see you in the next video.